Put down all your weapons, the ones you use to attack and defend. Put away the grievances, all the strategies that you may employ in order to defend the fictitious self. You're beautiful, as we all are when we're naked of all those strategies that we use to hide ourselves away. We've become so habituated, so used to living behind walls in the defended heart and the willful mind or the victim mind. But it serves no one, ultimately, to live in a defended, attacking, armed kind of way. For many, I mean, there are people who just live like that anyway. And there it is. That's the nature of some of the denser aspects of the world. But maybe not for you and maybe not for me. And there are a lot of people who are seeking a greater openness or a greater softness. You know, I've seen so many people who say, you know, something is not right, you know, with the way that we've come to live our lives and hiding all the pain away, and then it manifests in, you know, in the fight or in the attack or in the self-harming in some kind of way. This just doesn't work anymore. And there's a evolution taking place of some sort, an awakening taking place of some sort, without pinning anything too much onto it. You know, that, you know, as a collective, I think, certainly in some places, you know, we've had enough. And had enough means what? Had enough of not just the outside, not just the politics or the way the matrix kind of runs, but actually had enough of living a stifled life where, in order to get by, we've felt that we had to, you know, bury the pain, bury our sensitivity, bury our vulnerability, our tenderness, even our brokenness inside ourselves. But inevitably that means we live behind walls. And it's no kind of life to live behind a wall. It just doesn't work. Well, it works functionally, maybe, but it doesn't lead to any peace. It doesn't lead to any joy while we're alive. You know, maybe there's a letting go of all of that when we die, but the opportunity to let go of all of that while we're alive and conscious is a kind of awakening. And it has to be released, and that means we have to sort of, instead of waiting for some miraculous time in the future, some, you know, magical kind of awakening to happen to us, we can consciously embrace that. At least we can't consciously do it, you know, but we can certainly begin to allow ourselves to feel more and more, because as soon as you start taking down the walls behind which you live or we live, then inevitably there's going to be a rising up or revealing of what's trapped, what's been stuck behind the wall. We don't have to make a story of it. You don't have to seek therapy for years and years. Might be helpful now and again. Some cathartic work, some somatic work, some body work, some energy work, a releasing kind of work that is useful, is very, very useful. But still, the journey, if you like, is to lower the wall of the defended heart, and to begin to feel again, to really feel again directly, what has been denied. And in that way, we put down the weapons that we've carried. But you can see that now. You can look at your own life and see, where do you attack? Where are you defended? The attack and defend. Where is that in you, and why is that in you, and who does it serve now? These questions are a useful kind of way of getting under the hood, into the deeper architecture of yourself, of ourselves, to see why we feel that we need to be so defended, particularly around the heart. And by, with that, it's like it becomes a sort of, an intimacy, a deeper intimacy, and that draws us closer to that which we've been defending or avoiding all the time. It happens during life. In our 20s, we might sort of get away with it. In our 30s, it'd be starting to become more painful, possibly. But in our 30s, our late 30s and our 40s, it can be screaming. The pain, or the pushing down, or the denial, or the picking up of the weapons, or the endless sort of schism can cause a lot of pain. And therein lies the suffering. So in your 40s, start to really meet it. And in your 50s, it starts to come undone. This is not fixed, of course. It happens throughout life. In our late 20s, we're going to meet some pretty heavy stuff anyway. But, it might be too young to actually really meet it. But that's the beginning of the door opening. Yeah, the beginning of the door opening. And there's actually the Chiron return that happens at about 48, 49, astrologically speaking, that really calls us. That's what would be known as the midlife crisis. And when that comes, that's an invitation, a profound invitation by demand sometimes, to look back at our lives and to decide, what's worked, what hasn't worked, what needs to be let go of. It's a deeper calling to go into a new kind of maturity in our lives. And that can come in form of all sorts of things, like illness or accident, or, career issues, or health, or, something like that. But, these are just markers in our lives. Still, the profound calling that's available now through wisdom and a deeper knowledge that maybe we didn't have, quite so easily available, so many years ago, is to look at that, is to look at where you're defended and where you're attacking, and to kind of soul search on a deeper level, to look into oneself deeper and deeper and say, is that what I want? Do I want to be so defended, or is it time in my life to really start facing the deeper truths of myself and stop bartering it with the outside world, and stop hiding it from the outside world, but also from myself? This is a deep journey of self-revelation and self-love, because that is self-love. That's coming into the depth of a self-intimacy, where something starts to transform slowly or quickly. Doesn't really matter. It's usually it's usually a slowish kind of journey of forging, of maturity. But that's the invitation of this particular video, is to be prepared to look inside and see where the defended heart is, and to accept the invitation from the self, from life, to say, I think it's time. I think it's time. Bless you.